people respond to emotions. Your listener will respond to something that makes them feel emotions. Now think about a movie you saw a couple years ago. You probably don't remember a single word of dialogue from the movie, but you remember that you loved it. If you dig deeper, you'll realize the reason you loved it is because of the emotions it made you feel while you were watching it. Maybe you were filled with joy when the guy proposed to the girl after they were on again, off again for the whole movie, or maybe you laughed yourself stupid scene after scene during a movie that you considered to be hilarious. Whatever it is, you might not remember a single scene or a single word from the movie, but you know you loved it because of the emotions that you felt when you were watching it. And you even take those emotions with you after the movie's over. So writing a great song works in the same way. It can actually be even stronger in music than it is in movies because people tend to tie the emotions they experience in their own life with the songs that they've heard. Like if you heard a song 1,000 times because it was a smash hit during your last few weeks of high school, it might make you smile when you're reminded of the good times you had with your high school friends, during those final weeks. And you'll still feel those emotions when you're thinking back about that song years later. So when you're writing a song, it's important to think about what emotions you want to evoke in your listeners. A lot of times when we're writing music, we're writing based on our own life experiences. When you do that, it's usually pretty easy to jump right into the mindset and the emotions of a song because you know what they are because they happen to you. Now, sometimes you'll come up with a great song idea that didn't happen to you specifically, or maybe only a small part of it did. And in those cases, it can be more difficult to deliver the appropriate emotions that would occur in that situation. Which is why I like to talk about this idea of a character avatar. The purpose behind the character avatar is to be able to focus your thoughts on a character in your song. It'll allow you to get inside the mind of that person to see what they feel. It's an advanced way of stepping inside someone else's shoes. When you come up with a character avatar, you want to be very specific about who he is down to the specific details. This person can be real or imaginary. It doesn't matter as long as you focus on the details. So some of the things you'll want to think about when you're coming up with this avatar are the following: his name, his gender, his hometown, his age, his education, did he go to college, did he graduate high school, that kind of thing, his occupation, his annual salary, his marital status, does he have kids, his hobbies and interests, and even his personality traits, things like is he introverted or extroverted, is he logical, is he usually happy, usually sad, is he easygoing, things like that. And then you also want to think about lifestyle traits like suburban, rural, blue-collar, white-collar, artistic. What type of lifestyle traits does he have going on? Now remember, these things don't have to be based on a real person, but they can be if you want them to be. But what is important to keep in mind is the more detail-specific you are, the more real he'll become. It's also important to mention that most of this information that we're going to be coming up with isn't going to come up at all in our song, but it's important to just write it down and get it out there so that you can easily picture who you're talking about. It's also a good idea to include a picture for your character avatar. It'll really help bring them to life. If you're working with someone who's not a real person in real life, just search for some images online that'll fit the description of who you came up with. You can use the information I've started with here as a guide for when you create your own avatars, and then just write out the same information I did on a clean sheet of paper and attach a picture. Hang it up when you're writing your song, and then you have a real person to talk about. Now, while that stuff is important, it's also important to mention that we just can't stop with that information. We need to tap into the emotions of this person. Remember, people respond to songs that make them feel emotions. A lot of times that will start with the emotions that your character is experiencing. So get specific about the character avatar's emotions too. And don't just write those emotions down, but allow yourself to feel them. Get into character. You're essentially an actor here. So let yourself feel those emotions to properly get into your role. Tapping into these emotions when you perform the finished song will also greatly help how your song is presented and your vocal is delivered. It's crucial to a great performance in addition to, emotional lyrics. So ask yourself what your character avatar is feeling. So let's say, for example, you were writing a song about a breakup. You would probably write down some emotions like sadness, anxiety, maybe even anger. Now, like I said, it's not enough to just list those emotions like that. You have to take a little time to focus on each one. So start with sadness. Allow yourself to get into that emotion. Reference something that might have happened to you that made you feel sad and allow that emotion to exist inside you for a few moments. Then move on to anxiety and anger and do the same thing. Feel what your character avatar would be feeling if whatever happens in the song would be happening to you. So by coming up with your character avatar, whether or not you've actually experienced what your song is about in real life won't matter as much anymore. You'll now have a way to understand what your character is going through, and you'll be able to write a more emotional song because you know what those emotions are and who is experiencing them. Now, I know in this lesson we're talking about how to write emotional lyrics, but I also just want you to keep in mind that we are writing songs here. So the advantage of that over a medium like, say, poetry, for example, is that we do have the music to support the emotions that our lyrics are talking about. So the nice thing is, whatever emotions you're looking for your listener to experience, you can enhance what the lyrics are saying with the feel and the mood of the music underneath, and that'll help you create prosody in your music and really help you write an effectively emotional song. So hopefully that helps you out when you're writing the lyrics to your next song. It'll help you get your listeners more interested in what you're writing. And until then, download your free ebook below, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks. Take care.